Well, good evening, and thank you for joining me. I'm meteorologist Jake Lambright. Of course, we're going to break down the weather forecast here for you in just a minute. And we actually have a lot to talk about today, including some isolated storm chances going on tomorrow, as well as a big cool down in sight. And of course, lots going on in the tropics as well to touch base on as well. So right now you're taking a live look at first alert radar. Not a whole lot going on right now across the area. Just a couple of earlier we had a couple of light showers and storms. Those have since moved out of the area. And apologies there on that. I had to adjust that camera there for just a second. But now we're quiet, at least until we get into the day tomorrow. Now you will see here right now first alert satellite and radar showing a couple of isolated storms still left over in northeast Louisiana. A little bit of rain out there in the Gulf where we have that stationary front. Overall, though, drier air is starting to set up, and that will certainly be noticeable as we go through the next couple of days. There's a look at that surface map. We also have a front to our northwest, probably not going to make it down to central Louisiana, likely kind of fall apart, but that noticeable cold front is on the way as we head a little bit further into the upcoming weekend. So what you're looking at right now are our forecasted temperatures versus where they should be, what's average for this time of the year. And you'll notice this kind of large area right here extending from Nebraska into North Texas. No, it looks like it would be really cold weather, but this is actually just temperatures below or 10 degrees below the average for this time of the year. So if we took our average 92 or 10 degrees below it, that's 82 degrees. Overall, not too bad. Here in the state of Louisiana, especially across northern and central parts of the state, we'll be near average to about 5 degrees below average. What I have in the forecast for the most part keeps us roughly 5 degrees or so below average for at least a couple of days, starting on Sunday and continuing into next week. So our highs look like that. Meanwhile, neighbors to our north might see highs topping out in the 70s. So a little bit more of a noticeable improvement well to our north in Arkansas, Tennessee, the Mid-South. But here our temperatures still aren't going to look too bad. We'll go from 92 on Saturday to 88 on Sunday. We'll be in the mid-80s on Monday and Tuesday of next week, and some of that weather could continue on a little bit further into the upcoming work week as well. Now, with that said, it's not going to stick around forever. You'll notice a shift there. 6 to 10 day outlook already showing some slightly above average temperatures for portions of central Louisiana and the Louisiana coast, but that bleeds into the entire state by the time we get to the 8 to 14 day window. I believe that's September 9th through the 15th. With that said, as we head toward the middle of September, expect temps to pick back up into at least the low 90s, if not the mid 90s, for those afternoon highs. Now, of course, the temperature is not the only thing to talk about. We've got one more day of isolated rain chances before we start to dry out for a couple of days. So most tomorrow will not see rain, but a few of those isolated storms will be possible tomorrow afternoon. You can see those kind of firing up around 2 to 3 p.m. It's sticking around until about 8 p.m. Beyond that, though, will be dry the rest of Wednesday night heading into Thursday. There's also a good bit of stuff to talk about in the tropics, and I'm actually going to talk a little bit about a storm in the eastern Pacific because it could actually, believe it or not, have a slight impact on our forecast. Right now, though, let's focus in on the Atlantic Basin. You'll see the Hurricane Center still highlighting this wave right here as a high chance for becoming an organized tropical system within the next 7 days. The probability is at 70% within the next week, a 30% chance of developing within the next 48 hours. And even beyond that, or before we talk about the extended tropical outlook, most models, or most spaghetti plots for the time being kind of show this gradually taking more of a northerly turn that would keep it out in the ocean. But of course, that's beyond 10 days out, so we're going to have to watch it closely. For now, though, it is not a big concern of mine along the Gulf Coast or for us in the state of Louisiana. Where we will have to keep an eye on things is as we head a little bit closer to the middle of the month. Here's a look at the extended tropical outlook from September 10th through the 16th, and you'll notice two areas being highlighted by the Climate Prediction Center. They think atmospheric conditions will be very favorable for tropical development. One of those is in the main development region, which is right here, this area that I circled. I'll actually put MDR, or short for main development region, kind of in that area there that's highlighted off the west coast of Africa, and then another spot near the Caribbean and into the Gulf as well. So might have to watch for some sneaky tropical development there. Of course, right now we have a stationary front out there, not expecting any kind of tropical systems off of that, but we will have to keep an eye on things here pretty closely, especially toward the middle and latter part of the month. You'll notice the 17th through the 23rd, the Gulf and the Caribbean islands highlighted once again. Same here with the main development region, and that brighter red that you see there in the center of the kind of pinkish shading indicates a little bit higher confidence in those atmospheric ingredients being more conducive for tropical activity. And it's no surprise. I mean, the peak of hurricane season is coming up around September 15th or so, and we do typically see the tropics a lot more active through the middle of October. Beyond that, though, we will see things quiet down, at least for us here along the Gulf Coast. So there is kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, but nothing that's a big cause for concern out there right now. And these extended tropical outlooks are not highlighting specific waves or areas of disturbed weather in the tropics, just areas where atmospheric conditions are expected to be favorable, where if something moved in that area, it'd have to be monitored a little closely. Now, with that said, let's look at the Eastern Pacific. We've got Tropical Storm Lorena out there. Lorena will eventually make landfall in the Baja Peninsula of Mexico and continue moving off to the northeast. We're not going to see any kind of tropical storm or hurricane or anything from Lorena, but the energy left over from Lorena could help to enhance rain chances as we see a trough of low pressure and that cold front move through later this week. And so that could enhance our rain chances just a little bit. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I know here this model, in this map in general, it might look like I'm showing you a tropical storm, and I am right here. This is Lorena. But with that said, this is showing atmospheric spin. And we monitor that very closely when looking at rain chances and looking at overall larger scale storm systems. So let me go ahead and fast forward the timeline. You see Lorena. I'll go ahead and put an arrow on Lorena once again. You see Lorena right here, and you'll notice that it doesn't look as impressive on the spin model as we get a little closer to Friday evening. With that said, I'm going to draw another arrow. Here's the remnant energy from Lorena at that point on Friday evening. By Saturday morning, you can see, notice it moving across West Texas. And then by Saturday evening, and I know that looks scary, but trust me when I say it's not, you'll notice, again, some of that remnant energy mixing in with that trough of low pressure like I was talking about as it inches closer and closer to us in the state of Louisiana. So like I said, could enhance those rain chances a little bit. I have rain chances on the lower side for now, but might bump those up, especially if this trend continues where, again, we already have that area of low pressure moving in, already have rain chances associated with it, associated with that front. But if things look a little more optimistic and consistent with Lorena or the remnants of Lorena potentially contributing to those rain chances, we might have to bump them up as we get a little closer. Like I said, for now, though, leaving it at a 20% chance on Saturday, 30% chance on Sunday and Monday, and rain chances do go down a little bit further by the time we get to Tuesday. In the meantime, though, things are going to stay quiet overnight tonight. There's a live look England Air Park. Pretty clear skies over there right now. You'll notice temperatures there 80 degrees, 76 over in Natchitoches, 74 in Leesville, 75 out toward Oakdale right now. Your hour-by-hour forecast for tonight calls for temperatures falling into the upper 60s and low 70s over the next couple of hours. Overall, a nice night ahead. We'll see sunny skies tomorrow. Temperatures already back in the upper 80s by noon tomorrow. They won't rise much more from there. You'll notice high temperatures tomorrow reaching the upper 80s. We'll have about a 30% chance of rain in there during the afternoon and evening hours. Of course, we'll have to watch things pretty closely, but most tomorrow will end up staying dry. All right, I'll have a full look at your 7 and 10 day forecast coming up in 60 seconds. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, here's a look at that first alert 7-day forecast. Again, low end rain chances back for the second half of the weekend into next week. Cooler temperatures also likely to stick around for a little while longer. Might be keeping things in the 80s through next week, but don't forget that warmer weather will be arriving soon. That's a look at my full forecast. Of course, I'll be live on the air once again tonight at 10 over on KALB. You can tune in on our smart TV apps or on our website, kalb.com/livestream for that news and weather update. I'll see you coming up here in about 50 minutes. For now, though, have a great Tuesday night.